Peace, God.
Peace, God.
So yeah, introduce yourself.
General Bashek Jebar, the teacher of law in the heart of Medina.
Indeed, God. So God, you were born in this nation,
Yes.
right? So can you just give me like a little bit of your history in terms of like, of course you were born, but then like growing up in the nation and how you saw it as a child, and then your siblings and all that, and your experience.
Good. All right, that's peace. That's peace. I started studying. I picked up three mathematics from alphabet. Started studying for myself at the age of 12 in 1994. I was resting in Pilon with my old dad. But just to give you my family tree or my family root, it goes from the father-in-law toward the first nine-born from Mecca, of ABG7 to a firstborn Shah from Medina, firstborn Shah from Medina to his physical Basim, his physical Basim to my old dad Bashik. My old dad taught me and my siblings and my family.
Okay.
So that's my root. But we've always been introduced to the culture since before I was born. My family has been involved. My old dad had knowledge since he was about 14, 15 years old. So most of my family was involved in the culture in some form or fashion, as well as pretty much most of the people I grew up around in my neighborhood. A lot of them received knowledge from my old dad. So I always had the culture as an influence to me growing up. Even in my household, the language spoken was supreme mathematics, supreme alphabets, and I heard degrees all the time. My oldest sister, she could quote the supreme mathematics at the age of understanding at 3 years old. But what my old dad did with me and my physicals, he allowed us to pick it up whenever we decided to do it on our own. So my direct lineage of me studying came from 1994. I was in 7th grade. I learned supreme mathematics, supreme alphabets, 12 Jews of Islam, and then 1 to 10 all while I was in 7th grade. And then I started defining each word in the 1 to 10. And all this wasn't even my old dad telling me. It was I just had a natural inclination to study.
But it was already in the household.
It was already in the household, yes.
Right, with your old dad and your old herbs.
Yes, yeah, both of them.
Okay.
And my uncles, like everybody who visited, pretty much spoke our language. Or was somehow they was part of the culture some way or another.
So what was the attraction in 1994?
It was the language, like seeing a lot of my uncles and my aunts, just seeing the dynamics of how they interacted. At that age, you're still young, so you're able to detect certain social cues and things like that. But I noticed that the people that my old dad and my old earth would be around, I noticed a certain bond. I learned a certain I seen a certain connection that connected them. So I liked the way that they was connected, how it was unified, how I could wake up. You know what I mean? I got some uncles there visiting from another state, and they built it with me. So it was like that excited.
Okay. So, how long did it take you to knowledge 120 from that point, from 1994?
To about 2001, about 2001, I was about 19 years old.
6-7 years?
Yeah.
Okay. So you kind of took your time going through it, though.
Yes, yeah.
And what was that experience like, those 7 years?
It was definitely a good experience. I definitely needed it. Although I could quote a lot of the degrees, even at a very young age, my age level and my experience level didn't necessarily match to the level of knowledge that I had at the time. So going through those years allowed me to have experience with my peers, experience with older people, younger people, experiences teaching, finding things that worked, that didn't work. So those years were very vital in my growth and development.
I mean, did you have peers that were a part of the culture as well?
Yes.
Yeah, and was that like a support system?
Yes, that was definitely a support system. We had peers growing up where I grew up at in Medina. A lot of the generation ahead of us, they had knowledge of self in some form of fashion, or at some point they were actively studying. So the children and nephews, we all pretty much had a grasp of what knowledge of self was, and somehow we kind of formed similar units as like our fathers and uncles kind of was together. It just naturally, as we grew up, we kind of molded together, and we all started studying. We all started studying at different times, but by the time we was all 15, 16, 17, we was all studying 120, and then some of us got it faster than others, but we had a peer group, and we was all pretty much within 2 to 3 years of the same age range. Then we had our older brothers and sisters who lived inside the neighborhood, who would build with us, spend time with us, sit down and build with us, and give us their experiences.
So what were some of the challenges during those years?
Just in general?
Yeah, the challenges in terms of like the culture, because I know like the 90s, and since you said 1994, because that's when I started walking through 120 lessons, right? Or officially started being introduced to the cultures in 1994. But during that time, there was a large influx of 5%ers, but then there was the counterculture, like the Bloods and the Crips started coming around the times. I mean, so. And I think I want to say I'm probably years older than you, right? So
what's your physical degree again?
I'm free God.
Oh, all right. So yeah.
Yeah. So so at that time I was knowledge equality.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So you being
knowledge, wisdom, yeah.
Knowledge, wisdom, right. So like that time period, I could see like the Bloods, the Crips, and being a teenager at that time, it was like, okay, you kind of had to stand on your square. You know what I'm saying? So, but I wonder what your experience was as a young man at knowledge, wisdom.
It was almost like we didn't fully understand what was going on, but we knew something was happening. It was almost as if a whirlwind had took over the city. Like I could build from a personal experience in now why, from even going from Medina to Pelon to the desert. It was almost like it was almost as if like our peers was just getting grabbed up by different groups, and everything seemed attracted to them. Me being that I was rooted inside the nation, I was able to withstand a lot of the peer pressure to do a lot of things that my peers were doing. And I also have to acknowledge the fact that we moved at certain pivotal moments in the child's dynamic growth and development. That kind of I think helped in a way as well. So I didn't have to stay in one area to kind of because this is what I think. I don't think everybody who joined those groups necessarily felt victim or they just wanted to do wrong. It was just a lot of it was social dynamics that that we didn't understand at the time, that I don't think anyone kind of knew what was going on. So it was almost like a whirlwind, and just my peers was being we just never seen them again, and we would hear the stories that they tried to do this or they tried to do that, or they got recruited somewhere, but things didn't go too well for them, like right immediately afterwards. So we were just losing peers left and right. That was pretty much my whole childhood, just losing peers.
So having that experience, like you use the word or use the term social dynamics, right? And I'm always paying attention to us as a nation and our support system, having a support system, and how important the support system is. So. What would be your takeaway from that experience in terms of like the social, dynamics of the time and what it turned into, and what we can do to implement it going forward?
Yeah, I would say the Nation of Guards and Nurses, especially in now Wall, was very instrumental in our city not really going too far down any particular path, because a lot of the people who were teenagers at that time were still influenced by Nation of Guards and Nurses, I would say, in some form of fashion, whether it was directly in their household, via the media at the time, music, or whatever the case was. There was,
this is before the internet.
This is before the internet. There still seemed to be an overall aura of civilization around now. Why? And I think even some of the brothers and sisters who went into those worlds, they still retain some sort of knowledge of self. So I think that the Nation of Guards and Nurses was very pivotal in a lot of the young people not succumbing to a lot of the destruction that we see in other cities around the country. But they were all child soldiers. If you look at it, similar to if you look at other countries, people were recruited into wars. The only thing is when it happens on the soil, it's kind of looked at as just a social ill and not a world problem. But a lot of the young people that was going through problems here was not going through much different than other children
like
in the world.
Third world, so-called third world.
Yes, yeah. When the children was being recruited into wars, just given weapons and going to fight, the same dynamic happens to a lot of young people here. It just they weren't treated like victims; they were treated like perpetrators of criminals.
So I mean, what do you think would be a solution to that nowadays?
I think our nation is still a solution. I did a lot of historical research, and our nation, even from we look at what the father did with an assassination with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., our nation is very pivotal because we stand as like a vanguard. Like we're of the people, we are the people, and we can still teach to maintain some type of order and balance, and we do it with love. So I still think, as I think Gail Brewer said at the street signing, she said the 5% Nation is very pivotal in the upliftment of a lot of, I'm paraphrasing, a lot of the community members. She said we still need the 5% Nation.
The 5%ers always stood for peace, equality for everyone, demonstrated by their powerful service in the community, working tirelessly to increase cultural awareness and the importance of education, which is why Jewel has all these wonderful children here today. After school programs for children in the neighborhood still needed. Launching service projects like clothing and school supply drives, providing college preparation and support for high school students. So we stand here on the corner where the 5%ers headquarters is located. We look forward to the legacy of this group being celebrated for many years to come, and congratulations to keep the education going. Thank you very much.
So I think that 5% is not just 5% in general, but anybody, semi-civilized person, anybody who wants to do good for the community, as long as we work together and we continue to work with the youth and we use our know-how to prevent things before it happen. I'll give you an example. I'm a part of a program called Fathers Speak Up. A young man named Dionis Fernandez went about 3 years without seeing his child because the mother moved out of state with his child. He then found a flaw in the court system where that a lot of fathers trying to be involved inside their children's lives were unable to do whatever the case was. So he started volunteering and helping fathers fill petitions, keeping families together. Not necessarily berating the other parent, it's just about making sure there's some type of fairness and equality. I went to a meeting, a community board meeting in Jamaica, Queens, where the police captain said that 80% of the violent felony assaults was domestic related. So I think that if we start to attempt to use different avenues to solve problems amongst ourselves, first we start with correcting the family unit or reviving the family unit, keeping it together, then the community, and then eventually the world from that point.
Yeah, that's peace.
You must do your own research, as I did.
If Mega did this.